All right. So this is our fourth one. Sarah, are you ready? You in a good
I
spot?
am. I'm here.
And
Let's
the
do it.
topics of our just kind of around remote working. We've gone through different technologies. We've gone through, culture items. We've gone through a lot of different things. And this week we're trying to wrap those things up. And kind of our open question is, we know a lot of you are a lot working from home, 100% almost. Like, Lisa's company, they're a lot from home. KDJ has been from home, and they actually most of their employees don't work from home. So KJ started off pretty well versed for this. We've been helping them with their IT for a long time. Where for a good part of their year, I'd say 90% of the organization they don't even have enough desks. So they're basically remote to start with. So, Nick, how about you guys? You got a lot of people working from home now?
Yeah, I think well, about 4 weeks ago we made the change, and we got basically everybody but two offices, everybody but two people in each office remote.
So what's that, like 130 people?
Yeah, about 130, 135.
Yeah, that's a chunk of change for sure. So cool.
Well, just a reminder that we'd love to know what percentage, if you want to drop it in the chat, which I don't have open. So I will
Ginny, I don't know if you have anybody working from home yet, really. She's the only one I don't know about. The rest of them I know, but Ginny, I don't know. That's Ginny Cox from Alert Services right there.
She says with that Black's barbecue on your table.
I know, we were talking. She can't get her audio to work. That's a bummer.
Okay. Well, just to drop us a line about where you guys are currently at working remotely, and how long you've been that way, whether it's been 2 weeks or 2 months or however long, just so that we can kind of get an idea of what level that you guys might be at. She says that she has salesmen and 2 customer service reps.
Wow, yeah, that's right. It's true. I didn't think about that. Jenny's salespeople have been remote for basically forever.
Yep.
So yeah, good point.
All right. Oh, a little bit about us. I think everybody here knows us. So we're Hill Country Tech Guys, and we do managed service for basically it's outsourced IT for companies such as all of you guys here. And we've been in IT. Well, what's been in IT for 20 plus years. I've been with Hill Country Tech Guys for the last 7 years. My name's Sarah Eric. I am not the IT guru, so that is definitely, I am the counterpart to it. I just kind of figure out how things can be working on a day-to-day basis. And I support all of my brilliant people around me that do IT. Whit, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Whit Eric. I am the CEO of Hill Country Tech Guys. I don't claim to be a tech guru, but we'll figure it out together. We are a managed IT provider. What that means is we outsource IT departments, take ownership of your IT and infrastructure, and really try to team up with you to try to move things forward. Some of you are current customers, and some of you are not current customers, but we don't really care. We just want to help people, and we'll find time we can work together for sure.
So again, this is just about us sharing knowledge, and if use the chat, whatever you can. If you have input, since some of you guys have been working from remote for a longer period of time, if we're hitting on something that you know a lot about, let us know, help us out, because we're still definitely learning and growing in this, and we are thankful to be working alongside a lot of companies that have given us a lot of advice. So feel free to jump in at any time, and especially through chat, or drop down some questions to help us lead us in a direction that you might need more information on. Nick is
Great.
hashtag Microsoft Whiteboard. I don't know what that is. You know what that is? You're gonna have to give me more information.
Yeah, that's a free software through Microsoft. You get it with Office 365. It's pretty cool. I haven't played with it yet, but I've read about it. Yeah, for sure.
So last week we talked about leading your remote workforce. The previous 2 ones we hit on both setting them up and the logistics of setting them up, and then on this second episode we talked about monitoring tools and security. Those can all be found on our website now on the blog page. So if you they're up on YouTube. So if you have anything you want to reference it, you want to get somebody else on it, go for that. This week we're going to be talking about policies to consider within your workforce. And whether that be security-wise or employee-wise, we'll have a couple of different options. We did decide to continue doing webinars after this, where we'll be doing the third Thursday of the month. So our next one will be May 21st at 4 p.m. Currently, we're discussing having it security focused. Has been dying to do a live hack for a while, so he's thinking this is going to be his.
Let's be clear. I need to practice doing a live hack, and I feel like you guys are some cool people. And what I will do is actually demonstrate a hack happening and some tools that we have and how they can stop it and detect it, and in that. So, I mean, I feel like people are like, well, I've seen a live hack when I clicked on something nasty. Well, I want to be able to show you the kind of some of the back end stuff and some of the data that you should have and what some of the enhanced stuff there is. We've been talking a lot about enhanced AV and SOC and NOC, and they're way different than just antivirus these days. People think, oh, I got antivirus, I have a firewall, I'm good. And that's just, those days are gone. That's literally, I feel like soon, right now they say that's enough to be compliant or due diligence. I don't feel like that'll be the case forever. I think you're going to need some enhanced tools. And, I have a demo that I've been practicing and working on where I can literally show a hack happening, files getting encrypting live, and then how the software behind the scenes should be able to, prevent it or roll it back, etc. So, yeah.
So that's what we're considering right now. However, if there's something that you're really wanting to know about, you have a lot of questions about, first of all, if it can't wait for a month, reach out to us. Use that first step email to contact us directly. But if you do have something that can wait a month and you want to talk about, drop us a line at firststep@hctechguys.com, and so we can start kind of getting an idea of where you guys are at, what you need to be talking about.
We're definitely looking for ideas. I mean, I can rant on about just about anything, but I'd rather, you guys saying, hey, explain cloud infrastructure, explain something, I'd love to have a point to be answering questions. So, yep.
All right. So policies to consider. We're going to get started.
Yeah, I guess the idea for this one was we all are basically working from home. We all basically have some people working from home. Now we need to start solidifying and protecting ourselves. I feel like a lot of people are reactionary. We were responding. We didn't have a plan, and we got people working from home. Well, that's not where it ends. We want to kind of close the gap on you guys as this being the last one from our workforce, remote workforce webinars. So we're trying to close it up to give you some more food for thought, some more things you need to do. So.
Yeah, just a reminder, we're not lawyers, so I would definitely make sure that you're consulting your legal counsels or your HR counsels and any of this. A lot of times we're going to be giving you ideas of things to be looking into or to consider, not necessarily giving you the exact wording that you need to be having or how it needs to be put in place. So, and
I have allowed people to talk, so if you have questions or have your own experiences, we're definitely trying to run this one as an open forum. So.
Okay, so policies to consider. We're going to talk kind of about two main groups here, which is management of either employees or assets and also security risk mitigation. Those of you that have been on here a lot before, you know that our passion is security today and growth for tomorrow, and that's never been more true than this current situation that we have right here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and about why we're so double down on security right now. But first, we're going to talk about managing employees, managing the assets in a remote environment, and policies to consider. So in employee management considerations, I'm going to be all over the place. I'm going to be here and there. Just, if you have other questions that you want to talk about, please reach out. Because it's kind of just as we've been going through this, things that have either fallen through the cracks or things that we saw possibly could fall through the cracks. One of the biggest things that we have found with our types of employees is setting responsive or active timeframes versus available timeframes. Because you have management or other people that might not have to work a 9 to 5 and they now have children at home and all this type of stuff, it's really important to set some guidelines as to when you're going to be expecting them to actually be working, and then when you're just need them to be available to to reply to messages and stuff like that. I myself have been kind of working underneath that, where I am available from 9 to 5 or always by messaging and responsiveness. But because I do have children at home, my main work hours are earlier in the morning. I usually am getting up at 6, and I put in a lot of my hours before everybody else. So,
and you need to think of everybody this affects. And I think that's why that's where this comes from, because we have some customers that let people work from home. Great. But now they have people working from 4 a.m. till midnight. And then we need to take that into consideration, especially for IT, because I need to have maintenance windows. All of a sudden, we're used to rebooting your servers at 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And all of a sudden, you have people working then. So we've had to have nice active conversations when it is acceptable, not even considering your business processes. When do your customers need to be able to be answered? When are the banks that you deal with or the insurance companies or whoever you're dealing with, when are they there? Because all of a sudden people work from home and they may not be aligning with everybody else's schedule. So you have to have that active, this is when it is allowed. Everybody's going to be different. When are you expected to be on Teams or Zoom or whatever it is? When are you expected to be there? And having those written conversations with your employees is very important.
Yeah, and that brings up good points. Then there's the transparency of it. Then it's letting everybody know. And we do have a service team, and our service team, they have to work their normal hours, as best as they can. So they aren't on that same place, but those that you can start giving a little bit of those freedoms, I think will go a long way in the long run.
Yeah, and I've heard of some places that are like, you're expected you're online from 8 to 5 every day, but on Friday you can do some kind of shift schedule where you do different. And then I know some people that they're getting online at 4 a.m. till 8 a.m. and then they help their kids from 8 to noon, and then they get back online to work the rest of their shift. And that's the deal they worked out with their company. But now we need to know, because now I've got help desk calls coming in at 4:30 in the morning when somebody can't print or emails not working, whatever. So it wasn't a alignment thing that we had to do with all of our customers. It's that whole over communicate thing. It's in some of the books we recommended. It's over communicate. These are the reasons why. So
yeah. Okay. Time punching, and this kind of goes along with it. That I don't know if you guys have hourly employees working from remote. We do have hourly employees working from remote, and our system that they currently already were working in was their time clock in and out. So we had an easy transition to this, but a lot of people don't. And there are server-based and web-based offerings to do time punching that you can do, but I just advise that whatever you do, it's the same across the board. With the same deadlines, it's written down and it's acknowledged by all your employees. But there are options for this, and you don't have to just kind of, okay, well, we're going to have a spreadsheet or whatever that they're going to log in. There are options for this. Back to the responsive or active timeframes versus available timeframes. You also want to have the transparency within your system that people are in or out, because there's still lunch breaks, there's still breaks. So whether it being a time punch that everybody can see or not, but again, you can go and you can look at those, the server or the web-based. There's plenty of options out there for you to
I think
do
it's like even working calendars, having, telling your leadership team or management team or whoever, if you need to take a 2-hour break in the middle of the day for whatever, put it on your calendar so that everybody knows, okay, they're going to be back at 2. And having your system set up to share calendars is just, I would be drowning right now if it wasn't for our calendars.
Yep.
All day long, I'm checking out people's calendars. I'm setting up meetings and appointments, trying to make sure we're moving things forward. You need to find those accountability tools and then get them pushed out to everybody.
Overtime policies goes along with the time punch as well. That you're going to have, there needs to be a lot of transparency in what hours people are working, because if you're like us, you're monitoring your overtime right now because, all costs, all expenses that you can monitor, you are. So again, pushing off overtime policies by department or by team, and using that time punch and how that's going to reference to the time punch. Our system is really fun, where sometimes you don't know that there's overtime until it's happening. So someone had advised us to actually have to get approval. People have to get approval before we're working overtime. We're not there yet because we can't be, because we're setting up so many remote users, but that's probably going to be coming down the pipeline for us. Dress code. So I'm in a polo, and that's great, but the people are doing a lot of Zoom stuff, and it's something that's been monitored about, like what you should be wearing or how you should be looking when you're on Zoom. And it doesn't have to be as formal as when you're at the office, right? So having some transparency on what you do expect them to be happening, when they're there or not is is advisable. And then bringing your own device. If you don't already have a BYOD, a bring your own device policy, this is the time to consider it. And this is a good policy to have now or forever, because it's a policy that just basically says what they can and they can't do on their own stuff. If they're bringing their own computers, what policies are you going to have to protect your own information that's on now their private device? And I bet everybody now is like, their own cell phones. They have cell phones, and I guarantee you they have your email on there or something, and that's it. That's your information on their device, and that's the purpose of a bring your own device policy, is to protect your information on that kind of stuff, your information and your infrastructure from security breaches. You want to talk about mobile device management?
Yeah, so there's several different tools out there. Sometimes like Office 365 has one built in, but you can enable mobile device management. Sometimes it's very cheap, and depending on the levels, reasonable, to basically sandbox your data on their mobile device. And what that means, if you're not familiar, is basically to make it so that all of the corporate data is now isolated from their personal data on that mobile device. So AKA, I have my cell phone, I'm at Disney World whenever they open it again, and I've lost my cell phone. I call IT, I've lost my phone. And what they're able to do with that sandbox environment is, that your data is now protected inside that phone. And if the bad guy gets that phone, that data is encrypted, it's password protected, and it's secure. AKA also, employee Y has now decided to go rogue and quit the business and stop checking in. You can erase that data off that phone without erasing their data. A lot of times you can erase, without mobile device management, you can erase the data on the phone, but it erases the whole phone. And I warn you, I've heard of people getting into legal battles over that because they erased the lady's only copy of their baby photos, whatever. So those mobile device tools give you the protection to track and erase your data. They give you the protection to make sure the phone is encrypted, to make sure the password on the phone, and even also say where that person is allowed to get to the data. AKA, if the cell phone leaves the country, do you want them to be able to have access to their data? No. Mobile device management tools have the ability to stop it. It's pretty awesome stuff. It also, for compliance, it's a must. It's just absolutely a must. I can't find a way to prove that the data is protected without a mobile device policy. Mobile on cell phones, laptops, XYZ. Anyway, it's good stuff.
Nick wants to know if you have a preferred mobile device management.
We use the one that Microsoft has embedded in it, probably because we're so much heavy Office 365, heavy teams. That infrastructure is so amazing and so tight, and all Active Directory integrates. So I believe it's called, not Intune. I'll have to get the name for you. I'm going to blank because I always just say my Office 365. There's a specific name for it though. They bought something and tied it in basically, but it works great.
Okay, so you can see during this part, I'm kind of all over the place, and we're going to continue. If you guys already have all these, great. Consider that a notch in your belt about you being prepared for this and on top of it, and I commend you all. If you don't, don't feel bad.
When was the last time you audited it? When was the last time you double-checked it and made sure that it's compliant and make sure your users are compliant? Because I have it, but is it compliant? Are you being vigilant? So Intune. I was right. It's called Intune. So anyway, Microsoft's product is called Intune.
Okay, so there. Now, kind of switching gears to something else, I'm going to talk about consolidating your collaboration tools. When we were moving to a remote workforce and the potential of that, one of the first things I did was I went through and started setting guidelines as to what communication styles we should be using when. Because we had some people communicating on Slack, we had Microsoft Teams, we had our chat through our soft phones. We had a lot of different conversations happening in different areas. So we evaluated which tool had better tracking, had better archiving, had better searching for information in the future, and for us, that answer was Microsoft Teams. And so we went to that so that we could work on all one collaboration tool. If you have really heavy IT people, they're going to be using tools like Slack and stuff like that. And it's not necessarily bad that they're collaborating that way, but getting it to one, it answers a lot of problems, but also it's just the lack of your information out to all those different areas. So bring it into one kind of reduces your risk in that situation.
It can be hard because you'll have guys, Slack is better for this, or Zoom is better for this. No matter what, they'll have that. What's most important is consolidation and protecting your data and having an acceptable mode of communication, because how are you going to respond to chat when there's 15 chat programs, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to have a chat program. And I honestly, we've replaced most of our text messaging with Teams. And I would say it's drastically better for our own leadership, because then you have this chat history that continues on, is more congruent, and it transfers from your PC to your phone. And, if I have to walk away from my PC and go check the mail, my Teams will ding, and, I can choose whether or not to deal with it. But, it definitely feels better. And I also say that with like Teams and stuff, we're heavy Teams. I can speak for Teams. I'm not, there's a bunch of tools, but you can set schedules so that I can say after hours, I don't want Teams to ding on my cell phone. Whereas if it's a text message, it always dings, it always interrupts the person. So, and then I have some Teams channels, which is how they set up communication, that do ding after hours. And that's like our system down and our emergency dings. So I can prioritize notifications and try to make my life less noisy. That's how I describe it. So, but anyway.
Yeah. And of course, that's what we know, because that's what we utilize. But I know tons of companies that use Slack, and there's tons of opportunities out there. It's more just finding the one that works for your company, and then giving that communication to everybody that this is what we're going to use, and this is why we're going to use it, and this is what I'm expecting you to respond to me on, and this is how I'm going to communicate to you.
I would also encourage integration. You need to choose a tool based on its integration to all your other tools. And, being most people on this call, from what I know, are heavy Microsoft ones, looking at what integrates to Microsoft, and it's hard to fight the grain, right? And Microsoft is definitely pushing all of us down its tool stack, and it's reasonable. It's good. So, yeah.
Okay. So something else just to consider is offering stipends to employees for home office expenses, including possibly beefing up their internet if they don't have good stuff right now, or any supplies that they might need at home, or even their telephone. We've been giving stipends for cell phones for those employees that are required to be at home, and they don't want to have two phones, a business phone and a personal phone. So we give a stipend for that. But this is going even above and beyond that, and of which I can be honest, we haven't done yet, but it's something that we've been considering during this time. Outage policy. This did happen to us, where employees, the power outage went out at their house. This happened to 2 of my employees on separate days. So there's just a little bit of, what do they do? Who do they notify? And are you paying them while they're waiting for the power to come back up? Is really those little key questions that you can just go ahead and have a policy out so that your managers have that and they're ready to move forward with it. It's a little bit more of a risk, because now you have outages that can be happening at home, or outages that are happening to your data center, your cloud services, whatever. So it just is a little bit more of a possibility right now for those types of things to be happening.
Yeah, and in looking at some of those weak points too, and we've been going to a lot of customers and adding a second internet provider, adding SD-WAN, hardening up their connection, and giving them more tools to help the employees. So there's technical sides to a lot of this stuff too that you don't want to ignore. So.
I honestly did not think, if someone had told me you need to be thinking about that, I would not have been considering it, but it's already happened twice. So
yeah.
maybe
now,
we should have paid attention.
We do have a vendor stack, and I'm not pushing tools. If this is a big concern for your organization, that you can deploy a device at the customer's home that will optimize their internet and also give you some transparency into them having outages. So it's not, I guess there's more to it than just saying that. So, yeah.
Again, clarity with goals and expectations. We talked a lot about this in the 3rd webinar. So if you have any questions about kind of where you start with this, go to our episode 3 that's on our website. There's tons of information about where you start with this and how you get that in front of employees and their visibility of that. And then something that we've been really working on is educating your managers on new regulations. For instance, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. I'm not in the legal side of it by any means, but I do know that there's things that we are companies that are below 500 and people are now having to provide. So we're educating our managers so that they don't say something in front of our employees that could be getting them in trouble or us in trouble. Asset management. So to switch gears a little bit, that was talking about employees and just logistics of clocking in and clocking out and how they work every day. This is going to be talking about your hardware and other types of stuff. First of all, if you haven't already documented all company hardware that goes out to the employees, please do so. Employee signatures of assets and all that kind of stuff. That's going to be important. They do need to acknowledge that they have that hardware. Then a damage or theft prevention policy. So these policies will, cover such things like don't leave laptops in cars while you're not in them and things like that. There's tons of them on the internet if you want to go start Googling that way, or go to your lawyer, straight to your lawyer and ask for a good one.
Sometimes if you're using a PEO, they'll have some stuff you can sabotage.
Yeah, that's probably better, an HR consultant.
Yeah, and and I got plenty of time if you want to go send me whatever you have, and I'll see if I can poke any holes for you, because I've heard stories. I've been around some of this situation. So,
in addition to that, damage or theft of company for the protocol, property protocol. What do they do if they've had damage to their computer? What do they do if they have had a laptop stolen? This is very big for anybody that has PCI or patient information. Yeah, any of the regulated industries. If you guys have any of that information on laptops, then having them in cars, if they are stolen, you need a protocol of what to do and who they're supposed to call in that event.
I had a realization the other day, and this is a slight rant, but it was an exciting one for me that I'm going to work on. Realtors. Most realtors work in the formation of everybody as a consultant or a contractor for them, and it gives them some risk barriers there. But I just realized that my realtor has copies of all my personal information and no governing body making sure she stays secure and protected. So I realized that I don't remember her name anymore. She's got all my stuff. And that whole industry is totally broken down, that they have no responsibility to protect their people's data. And, I guarantee you she's got copies of my social, my job. Who knows whatever she had gathered through the process of buying a home. Anyway, now it's on her laptop. It's a personal laptop, and that's probably not good. It's just things you don't think about that you have to. So
that was random.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that random. When I was writing this slide deck, it was one of the things that came through in my head that, like, man, that's an industry that's broken. We don't work with realtors. I have really bad luck trying to get them compliant. So anyway.
All right. Another thing that you can just start asking questions about is with your insurance company. So if there is damage or theft, some insurance policies say that they are only central to one location. They don't cover if there was damage to hardware at the house, or even cybersecurity. If they might only protect what's in your office, and if there's a computer that's hacked outside of your office, then it's not covered. Asking those questions, because there are policies that do consider that kind of stuff and allow for those things to be happening. But having those conversations now rather than later.
I'd read it. I've been asking customers to send them to me. Because I've seen policies that require pre-registration for coverage. They also require maybe a potential, a security assessment being filed. And if something happens, often they want you to touch nothing and call them first. So your IT company should have an incident response plan that matches your cybersecurity package's requirements. Because when something bad happens, the worst thing you would want is for someone to break it so that your insurance is not going to cover it. That would be horrible. So I highly recommend you read your cybersecurity package, find the line items, share it with your IT, get a plan, get it documented, and be ahead of the game. So.
Okay, so we're going to switch pages here a little bit. We've talked about a lot of employees and assets, and if you have any questions or comments or concerns about that, drop it in on the chats. We're now going to go talk about security risk mitigation, and I'm going to allow Whit to handle the majority of this because, again, this is where and we have a security expert on staff. Jared, if you guys have talked to him, who they've spent so much of their time invested in the last couple of years. But I just kind of want to do the foreground talk about the reality is that you have more of your information spread out over more places when you are working with remote workers. Therefore, your risk of breaches just your security risk overall has increased. There's no getting around that. And so there's going to be a lot of talk about things that you can consider putting in. And when we're talking about security, it's always about the layering of security options, the layering of just making it more difficult for those types of things to happen. And they might be overwhelming right now. And so now it's time that what one thing that can you consider implementing right now to get you more secure. It's not, we have to do all of these things to be secure, but every step you do will get you more. And that's what you're looking for with security. You're just looking for the next step, and if that, and seeing if that's a good fit for you.
Yeah, I like to describe it as a pyramid, right? And you have the super high risk mitigating items down at the bottom, and you have to do those. And that's easy stuff: patch management, backups, antivirus, firewalls, right? And everybody tends to have these days. That's great. That's the bare minimum. So, but by everybody having those, what does that mean? The bad guys have found their ways around them. So now, unless you have an additional layers to your triangle, you're going to have higher risk. And some of those layers, and I listed this a little bit here. Enhanced AV is so popular these days. It's so easy. SentinelOne, Huntress, we're all partners we work with in organizations that we use and deploy to our customers depending on their risk profile. They're amazing tools. And most of them, to be honest, are adding a human element. They're putting humans behind the data 24/7, looking for problems, looking for changes and trends that they proactively make and take actions down to the minute. Super important. I do consider, if they're using a personal computer to connect to infrastructure, you should then lock it down. Give them the AV. It's so cheap to give basic antivirus to everybody. Most of the time in our organization, I can give a URL link that they click and then they have AV on the computer, and you can leave it on there and you can roll it back out later. Highly recommended. It's typically dollars a month per user. It gives you something. You have something, because most of the people, what I find is on their home computers, they have the free antivirus that Best Buy put on there, and it's been expired for 4 years and doesn't really count. So highly recommended. SOC and SIM, a security operations center and a system integrated enterprise. I'm blanking on the last acronym on that one, but what they are is people behind software collecting logs from all of your tools and looking for trends. They're, for example, say all of a sudden on a Saturday morning at 4 a.m., somebody from Russia connects into your server using Betty's password. These guys notice that stuff and realize it's bad, even to the point, okay, Betty was logged in Dallas and now she's logged in Colorado, and it's been within seconds. That can't be a thing. SOC SIMs are tools that collect that. They also give you the logs to unwind a problem when it happens. A lot of times you'll hear, well, I got hacked and they couldn't even tell me why. Without tools like SOC, SIM, and some enhanced AV, you're just guessing. You're just guessing at where the problem went, how long they were there, and what they did. These tools are what gives you that granularity. And now that we're going to be in this environment for a while, I recommend you've got to double down on your protection and add some more layers to your stack and look, how can I harden my infrastructure? I'm going to go to the next slide.
We got a couple of questions here.
Oh, yeah.
Nick asks, do you ever see any sort of concerns with now having a bit of metaphorical hook into their personal machine with providing antivirus?
Yeah, I do, because now there's some implied, you have me protected, because you put your AV on my computer. As soon as you've now started using their their personal computer for work, that I believe is already implied. So
I believe let's go back to that bring your own device policy. I definitely feel like that's going to be important on that type of thing.
Yeah, and I would also say, as soon as you now are using their home computer for work, you at some level as an organization own that computer in their mind, at least the well-being of it. So in my opinion, if people assume you're doing something, you might as well go ahead and do it, because it's just going to come and get you later. So I think the risk is worth the reward. It's necessary. And then Lisa, Terramind, yes and no. Terramind does.
Sorry, the question is, can Terramind give, which we talked about in the second seminar about monitoring? She's asking if that will provide antivirus or SOC or SIM or anything like that.
That would only give it to you. That gives you visibility into the user level. So what a particular using is doing, or a particular bad guy is doing. These tools would collect on the non-user interface level. So when a bad software gets in your system, typically it's not going to show up in any tool like Terramine, because it's just like, on my computer right now, the screen looks normal. There could be a bad guy underneath in the core of the computer doing things. These softwares watch all traffic and look for everything, not just what a particular user is doing during the day. Terramine is really great at keeping track of your own employees, and you could use it to see if a bad guy had logged into a computer, but these other tools do it on a very low compute level all the way up through the console level. So they're not exactly the same. I hope that helps.
Really great questions, guys. Really thank you for providing them. Everybody else is asking them. They're just not saying them, so ask away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is around printing. I guarantee there's some organizations that just can't get away from not allowing their employees to print at home. No matter how many monitors they have, their process just requires the paper. You need to have a brain power. You need to put some thought power behind that. What does that mean? Do I have to allow it? Do they have a printer at home? All that stuff's easy stuff, but then what are they going to do with the paper? Is it okay if they just throw it in the trash? Or do I need to have them put it in a bin and then bring it to the office to have it recycled or shredded with whatever shredding platform you have, or buy a bunch of shredders and send them out? It also needs to be in your work from home policy, in your mobile device management policy, how that's handled, and make sure the employee 100% understands. And I don't know how you're going to audit it, but you should find a way to audit it, even if it's asking. And I've heard of people take a picture of your work environment and send it to me every now and then to prove they've cleaned it up and they've kept it kind of maintained. It gets pretty intrusive, but you're dealing with all of your customers' data. I think there's implied a responsibility there. So we talked about this a little bit, consolidating collaboration tools. The reason is that the wrong collaboration tools can allow data leach, data to leave your organizations you don't know about and you can't track. The right collaboration tools give you this visibility. They give you the control to control what can be leaked, what can be sent. And sometimes it's okay to send a file, but they can't download the file. They can only view the file. You should definitely have that conversation with all your data. One of the big things that I've been working through in this round of pushes is archiving data. Why does your HR lady need access to employees that worked there 7 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe even last year? They don't. We should take that data and shuffle it off to another location that a more limited group of people have access to. The same thing can be done with time-based. I know for myself, I've got files that are 5 years old. Do I need them? Probably not. Delete them, move them, archive them, limit the access, and ideally get them offline wherever you can. So that's something that's free. That's literally just processes being put in place to clean up that data and limit the exposure, which the less number of our clients you have, is the less risk you are exposed to when having anybody in it. And that's not necessarily have to do anything with remote. That's just general. But this is definitely amplifying the need for more controls around your data and data management and what you're doing with it. And sometimes you have to get creative. I'm not, to be able to control this stuff, you have to get creative with the policies and the automation that we use, but there's ways to do it and you got to do something. Some of the security layers that we recommend. Number 1, 1,000% phishing training. This only really works if you don't have shared email accounts, or at least you can do it for their non-shared accounts. What phishing training is, they try to trick your employees into clicking on phishing emails, and they're good at it. Well, the right tool's good at it. We use a company called KnowBe4. It also then provides training back based on what they clicked on to help them learn how to better understand what they did and how they did it. That training then goes down to you as a report. You can see your compliance. I have not implemented phishing training and had a company pass yet. Typically, it takes 2 to 3 training sessions, like testing sessions, for them to pass.
But they do get better, which is really cool to see.
They always get better. Their scores always get better, and they always learn. And they learn not to just click on everything. When an employee has no responsibility, they'll click on everything. But when you start putting some responsibility, and i.e. phishing training, even if it's just as simple as you are going to require them to watch this 15-minute video on training, and they're not going to be on your internal leaderboard or whatever you want to do to encourage this act of just taking some training and being diligent. They also have, a lot of them have new employee training, and it gives you some basic how to determine a phishing email, how to detect it. A lot of it came from, I got tired of people emailing me, is this a phishing email? yes, no, because it's not hard. There's simple ways to look and tell if it's a phishing email and how to protect yourself. And there's a good training tools out there. We use KnowBe4. Anybody can sign up for it. If you have questions, give me a call. I love KnowBe4. It's great. They even have the ability to do what they call USB drops, to where you can take a USB stick, put a special file on it, drop it around your office, and see if anybody's fool enough to plug it in. As soon as they plug it in, you'll get alerted who did it, when, and all this. They even can do voice-based, I think, where they call your office and try to get your people to let them in. And it's pretty great. Cyber attack plan, that kind of comes from the whole insurance plan. What happens if something bad happens? Who is notified? How are they notified? It does matter the terminology you use. You don't want to say breached, you want to say incidents. Things like that. Once you cross this barrier to say you've had a breach, the rules change, and it's totally different. You don't want to be early to say something bad's happened. So having this plan, having a team, and a lot of larger organizations, we recommend a team. And maybe once a year, sit down with the IT group. We'll talk about their cyber attack plan. What's going to happen? Who's going to happen? How are we protected? What's our cyber insurance policy? Is it enough? Have this audit period that you do. So have a plan. Without a plan, you will fail. Multi-factor authentication. We've talked about it several times in several of our meetings. I don't want to harp on it. Super important. Very, very easy step. A lot of email systems have the ability to add a simple warning, and this is a nice free one. We add it to all of our customers that if it's an external email, at the top of the email, it'll say external. And can't tell you how many times, that it says WIT Eric, but external, it can't be WIT. So it's a simple, easy thing. Just turn it on and it saves yourself so much. Password policies. All solutions. And when choosing a solution, you need to make sure that they have password policies, or even better, if they can integrate into your current Active Directory. That way you have one password and it follows your corporate Active Directory password policy. Super important. Zoom can't be forgotten. You can't keep the Zoom password the same. You can't keep your QuickBooks Online password the same. They need to have a password policy, and there needs to be a minimum set for your organization.
Yeah, I just want to go back to that email and the adding a warning for users when the email is coming from outside. Something about the remote users about being like, my boss is usually here, so they would have just come over and told me to order Amazon cards or something. There was a rise for a long time about emails coming from a spoofed boss that tells them,
show you what it looks like.
That tells them to go buy a whole bunch of gift cards, and those gift cards then and send them to this address. So this would be a quick way for them to say, oh, well, I got this email, but it's not actually coming from my boss.
This is how we've done it right here. See, it's just a simple banner, says external email, and I know this is external. Obviously it is when it's twitter.com, but if somebody were to spoof my domain and did HC Tech Girls or whatever, something similar, and I didn't catch it, this could maybe tip me off that it was an external email and I need to be careful. So go ahead, Sarah, you can take it back.
I need to reshare, I'm guessing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okie dokie. Okay, this comes from me because I just want to put a reminder out there that changes are slower right now. I think I told a bunch of you guys on the episode 1 that we were changing from QuickBooks desktop to the cloud, and it's taken an entire month to fully get everything working and functioning like we had wanted it to be working week 1. But since we're not next to each other and we're not troubleshooting quicker, and things are going a little bit slower, and so changes will be slower. So any of these layers that you put in, take one chunk at a time and take it a little bit slower right now so that you're not shocking your environment, shocking your people with a lot of different changes. I forgot to enter the date, but the next webinar for anybody that came later is going to be May 21st, the third Thursday.
I think
third Thursday
of
next month at 4 p.m., of which we are considering during a security topic that goes a little bit different. Talking about a security breach. Do a live hacking that WIT wants to do, and just doing a little bit talk about those types of things and possibly why we're so passionate. Yeah,
I want to show you all the layers. To be fully compliant, It's ridiculous. And I need to put some disclaimers on that too. Best practices are extreme, and most organizations, unless they're an enterprise, can't achieve complete best practices. Everyone on this call can achieve 95% of those best practices to make, and that'll cover you for so much of the risk portfolio. And I want to kind of show you some of the recommendations that we have.
And that's it. That's all we have. If we just want to share with you a little humor, because Whit and I joke about how this is now how wife and husbands or anybody that are working together in the same area, because they're our only interaction. So it's like we're existing, we're a little snippy at each other.
If you haven't watched these YouTube videos, they're hilarious.
It's so funny. They're
it's
so
the
good.
Angry corgi videos. This one guy, he does them, and these two corgis hate each other. I don't know.
And they coexist somehow. It's great though.
This has been passed around our organization already.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming on. We'll upload this one as well to our blog site on our website, so that you guys can have any of that. Again, if you have any questions, and it can't wait till next month, reach out to us at firststep@hctechguys.com, or give us a call. If you just need some advice or talk through a situation that you're having, let us know. Send us a line. If you have something that you really want to be talked about next time, also just send us a line.
Yeah, give me some homework.
I think there's one chat going on, so I'm just trying to see what's going on because my chat closed.
Correct. Yeah, Nick brings up it's best to put that notification for external email in the body of the email, just like I did, and not in the subject, because in the subject, it makes all kinds of things not work. You don't want to mess with subject lines. It breaks email chains. You have to use the body. So, but, yep.
All right, guys. Well, we look forward to seeing you next time. Also, if you guys are not if you haven't been getting my updates on stuff by email, let us know. We'll be starting newsletters that are going out in the next couple of weeks that will be giving little tips and tricks like this that we're finding along the way, or that we've learned from the past, in an email form that will be going out on a monthly basis as well. So let us know if you want to be part of that. All right.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Thursday evening.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.